let's go to work. So when I was at the train just now, there was an announcement that came overhead that said, to the person who was skateboarding on the platform, please come to the back of the train. You dropped something and we'll give it to you. And I was like, I didn't drop anything. You want to give me a ticket. So I didn't go. I'll never know. Check this out. It's 40,000 subscribers on YouTube. So today is a special day. This is the first time I've ever done this, but Lois is going to give me a call in a few minutes, and we're going to do a podcast during the day while we're walking. It's not a late night podcast this week. It probably will come out tomorrow, the podcast. But it's his week to host, and he hasn't been in town for like a month. So we've been running on E for the past few weeks, and we ran out of backup episodes. So we have to scramble for an episode for the podcast to go out tomorrow. So he's going to call me on Skype in a few minutes, and he's going to have a podcast walking around town during the afternoon. So that was an awesome walk/podcast. I've never done that before, but I think it turned out really well. Lois is a cool guy, you know. He's one of those people that you don't meet that often. And I'm really glad that I know him and that he's doing things like this with me and just making my life more awesome. So look forward to that podcast coming out tomorrow. Okay, so it's a big day for Tubular here at work, but it's also a big day for DevTips. Today we reached a milestone of subscribers, 40,000 subscribers. 40,000 subscribers. That just blows my mind. I don't even know what to think anymore. I don't understand how to approach 40,000 people that have chosen to watch and possibly watch another episode. You know how these things work, but you know, every time I upload a video, there's going to be 5,000 of you that watch it that week. There's going to be, 10,000 of you that watch it that month, and that's just amazing to me. But therein lies the rub. Something that I've been struggling with lately is just kind of how many of you there are now, and the level of correspondence I need to do to keep up. Early on, I started responding to every comment that was ever left on the channel, if I was available to, barring the weird Google Plus problem. So I respond to every comment, and I've been doing so for the past 2 years, and it's just been an amazing experience. It's probably one of the things that sets my channel apart. I hear a lot that they're surprised that I respond, and people who get responses from me are also delighted, and I love that I can delight like that. That's amazing, right? The problem is, though, there's a train. The train thinks he's a Tyrannosaurus Rex. He's a Tyrannosaurus Rex. Okay. Little joke. The problem with having such a high volume of engagement, I mean, if you can call it a problem, it's one of the things that I love about the community, about the channel, is that it's starting to become such a constraint on my time that I'm often am neglecting some of. I miss comments now. I keep dropping the ball a lot, and I feel really bad about it. So here's what's going to happen. I'm still going to read every comment, and I'm still going to answer everything that I can. I definitely want to answer every comment that's left on the new videos of the week, but for comments, on older videos, I don't know if I can get to them anymore. I'll try. But I can't make that promise anymore. So what I'm going to try to do is something that I've been doing with this video, is I want to start responding to comments directly with a video. And I think that this does two things. Number one, it lets you know that I'm still listening. I still really appreciate the encouragement. I really appreciate the support, and just like the outpouring of goodwill and love from you guys. It means the world. But also it allows me to take the concerns and questions that you guys have individually and broadcast them to the whole community to do two things. Number one, answer them, at least try to, and give you my spin on the question. And secondly, to promote that question to the community itself, which will open up a conversation about your question, right? So today, I've hoodwinked, I've shanghaied, I've bamboozled 3 of my colleagues to answer 3 of the questions that I got last week here on DevTips. And we're going to do your best to answer them. Some really good insights are going to come out of this. And what I would like to see is in the comments your take on these questions, because there's no real one answer, right, to any of this stuff. And that's why I love this stuff. But then again, there's just so much interpretation that can go on. So there we are, and this video is going to be the first of a series, and I hope that I can make shorter ones, and answer the questions and talk to you guys and promote you and let you know that I'm still listening. I still really appreciate the encouragement and the comments and the love, the likes, the subscribes, the follows, everything, and the conversation is still alive and well. It's just gonna evolve and take on a new form. All right, so let's get started. Our first guest is my colleague Maggie, downstairs. Right? Okay. This is Maggie Moreno, and she works with me, and she is a front end and back end, because she's a full stack developer here at Tubular. And I like Maggie because she makes my drawings turn into real living websites, and that makes me freaking happy. So I asked Maggie to answer a question that I got from you guys. I got a question from Renee Reed. The question is, what do you think are the 3 most important skills for an aspiring professional developer?
Okay. So I think the 3 most important skills for a web developer, right?
Let's do that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it really depends on what you want to do. So for if you want to focus on user interfaces and like creating beautiful, beautiful front ends, then you're gonna want to focus on HTML, CSS, and JavaScript.
Okay.
That's going to be your core competency. However, if you want to do a little bit more, if you want to not only focus on the user interface but also work on the data that's coming into that, then you're probably going to need to learn, in addition, one of the more back-end languages like Python and the web framework Django, or Ruby and the web framework Rails. Yeah, and it's funny though, so it used to be that front-end engineers, like, it was like looked upon as like engineering light to do just HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. But now there are these big front-end frameworks like Angular and Backbone and React. So that, and not that many people, they're not really taught in schools, so like not that many people know about them.
Really?
Yeah, people know about them, but they're not very good necessarily, and so now being a more front-end UI-centered developer is like kind of in demand. It's hard to hire people like that. Really? Yeah, but it's really a very there's so many tutorials for things like that, and it's like very accessible and very easy to teach yourself these things.
Right. So you would say Leia, HTML, JavaScript, and CSS foundation.
Yes.
And then stick a JavaScript templating, or not templating, but a JavaScript, and then stick a JavaScript front-end framework on top of that?
Yeah.
And you'll be ready to go?
Yeah, I would say so.
That's good advice. All right, I have another question for you, because you do a lot of interviewing here. We're trying to staff up. You do a lot of interviewing. You do even more sifting through resumes. What is one thing, if you could put your finger on it, that turns your head on a resume?
Yeah, so there's a lot of debate about this within the engineering world as to even the utility of a resume or any one particular aspect of your resume. A lot of people will tell you if you've gone to a great school, it almost doesn't matter what you've done. Or they say you just have to get that one first job, and once you get that one first job, you're golden. But really, when I look at a resume, and it's very different when I as an engineer look at a resume versus when some human resources person or a recruiter looks at a resume, because they're looking at kind of different things. They're gonna look at whether or not you have grammar mistakes, or whether or not your resume is formatted nicely, and they're gonna look more at the schools or the classes you've taken or something like that.
Right.
But when I look at a resume, I'm very impressed by projects that you've done. If you have anything that I can go see, if you have a really, really hot Stack Overflow profile, if you have a bunch of work on GitHub, if you've contributed to open source projects, if you have a whole freaking website that's your baby, and I can go look at it, that means a lot to me. And I mean, and it could be something that you've taken the initiative and done. It could be something that you did for an employer if you're lucky enough to be able to show the work that you've done. But really anything that you're excited about, I'm excited about. Yeah. So anything that you want to tell me about, that you're just oh man, I did this project, and yeah, I know it was for school or whatever, but I just got so much out of it, and then I did this, that, and the other. That's super cool to me. Right. I want to tell me all about that.
I used to say that when I would interview, the number one thing that I would look for is passion.
Yeah.
Because you can teach anything, but you can't really instill passion the way that you can everything else.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time, Maggie. It's been awesome.
Thank you for talking to me.
All right. Okay. Our next guest is Kevin Lee. Kevin is the lead developer, the lead front end. What's the thing?
Yeah, I'm the tech lead of the front end team at Tubio.
Like that. So Kevin is the guy that if I want to make some code, it goes through him and he tells me no. Or he changes it completely, and I'm grateful for it because he always makes it better. So Kevin, thank you for coming out. What I want to do is I want to ask you a question that was given to us by a watcher of DevTips, and this is from Sergio, and he has a question about he's learning all these new things, all this new technology, all these awesome tutorials on DevTips, But the problem is that he takes them to work and they're not appreciated. They want to stick in the same road that they've been driving down for the past few years. They develop for IE. They kind of they have these clients that don't want to budge on new technologies. So the question is, what are some approaches that he can use to introduce new ideas and new techniques and new technologies to his team?
That's a really good question. Actually, I have some firsthand experience with it at Tubular itself, since when I got to the company, we were using Backbone, and I really wanted to use Angular. And so in order to prove that it was valuable to the company and the team to use Angular over Backbone, I introduced a small framework within the current application that just used Angular for that feature. And I showed that it required a lot less code and a lot less time to develop. And using that as an argument, I could prove that we should start experimenting more with using it throughout the whole project instead of just that little part that I developed.
So what would have been the cost if they said no?
So the cost if they had said no would have been that we would just have to revert the work I had done for that one small feature and go back to using Backbone for it. But by just developing on the small thing, I could make a proof of concept and show off to the higher ups and the rest of my team members what it was like to work with Angular on the project and how we could introduce it to the rest of the code base a little bit at a time. So there's some ease of transition there.
And how did you approach that meeting, saying this is what I want to do, here's my plan to do it? Did you make a presentation? Did you just tap them on the shoulder and whisper in their ear? What was that like?
Oh, so it was a really informal process at the time. Only about 2 or 3 people I had to really convince, and we just I did the work, and then I called them all together, and then we discussed it. And people had arguments for and against, but eventually we came out for it, and now the entire project is coded in Angular.
Is there any more backbone in there?
No backbone left in Tubular.
Ripped out the backbone.
Exactly.
Cool. Thanks a lot, Kevin. Just to summarize, Sergio, a little bit at a time, man. Just give them, get their feet wet, little baby steps, and then make a case. I like how you did that. You made a case study and then presented it to the people and had an open discussion about it. I really like that. Thanks a lot, Kevin.
Thanks for having me.
All right. All right, our last guest on the show today is Yannis Mangiaratos, who is what's your job description here?
So, hi everyone. So I'm a software engineer here at Tubular, and I'm mostly interested in the backend, so making sure that the data we have is processed efficiently to show up for customers on time.
Right. Okay. And that fabulous accent that he has, he's from Greece. So that's a really, really good Grecian accent. This question is from Lance Gunderson, who is a fan of DevTips, and he is coming out of the Navy. He wants to be a web developer, and he asks, basically, how much experience should I have before I start applying to jobs? What do you think about that?
So I would say the amount of experience that you need to have is related to how confident you feel about the field that you want to work on. So I think there is no wrong or right answer. It depends also on the companies that you are looking for and the kind of jobs. But I would say if you have a feeling that you kind of know what to expect in your day-to-day work, then you are at a good place. If you are still not very sure about, what my workday will be, I'm not really sure about the tools that I will be using, not the actual tools themselves, but rather the philosophy behind those tools. Then you would need to spend some more time working on it yourself before applying and being really successful in what you are applying to.
So that's interesting. So you say it's a matter of confidence rather than being certified or being, at this level or whatever.
It's a matter of confidence and also a matter of maturity, in the sense, if you kind of feel sure about moving to the next step, I think then pretty much you are ready to move to the next step.
I really like that. Sometimes I like to think about this idea of being confident with your tools in terms of being able to fix problems. That's kind of how I judge my like if something broke, how do I feel about fixing it? That's how I judge my confidence.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's important to make a distinction between knowing the actual tools that you are going to work with versus knowing the foundation behind those tools. Because if you know the fundamentals, then you can apply them to different tools. Okay, maybe you will spend a day or a couple of days figuring the details of a tool, right? Because you never worked with it before. But
can you give me an example of what you're talking about?
Here at Tubular, we are working with a lot of tools that I didn't have the chance to work with before. And like, for example, we use distributed databases that I hadn't used before. The thing is though that because of my studies and what I was doing on my spare time before, I had understanding for how these tools work under the hood, and I had some experience with similar tools, right?
Right.
So then it was kind of easy to apply this knowledge and learn that new tool and that new technology fast enough to be able to do things with it. So I think mostly that's what experience buys to you. The ability to be able to transfer knowledge quickly. Because at every job,
I like that a lot. The experience, what it buys for you is the ability to transfer knowledge quickly. That's a really good one.
Yeah.
That's a good gem.
Oh, thanks.
Sorry, I interrupted you. How are you ending?
Yes, I think actually that's in every new job you are going to encounter new tools and new technologies. Because also web developing is a field where everything changes fast, right?
Right.
So I think that's the most important thing. And when you really feel be honest with yourself and you feel that, okay, I can do that, I can transfer my knowledge and I'm confident that I can learn new things and work with them.
Right.
That's when you're ready, I think.
Nice. Well put, man. Thanks a lot. This is Giannis, and basically a sage wisdom over here of Giannis. So I appreciate the time, and thanks for stopping by.
Oh, thanks for having me, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Awesome. Okay, well that's it for this day. We are done. I'm gonna go home now, hang out with the wife and kids. Bed at 9 o'clock. Wake up at midnight to edit this video together and put it out for you guys hopefully tomorrow. That's it. So keep on hacking.